Good evening, everyone. If I could have all your attention now, we'll be able to start. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crawley Borough Council's Planning Committee meeting. I am Councillor Rana, Chair of the committee. There are no scheduled fire drills tonight. In the event of a fire alarm, please leave the building via the spiral staircase and the main reception door. Once outside, turn left onto Exchange Road. If you are unable to use the stairs, you will be guided to the evacuation lift. This meeting is being live streamed via the Council's YouTube channel. The comment function is not available. The Council is a data controller and will retain the data collected during the webcast in accordance with its data retention policy. Anyone seated in a public gallery should be aware that by entering the room, you are consenting to your image being captured by the automated camera system. Recordings will be used for webcasting or training purposes. The meeting agenda is available on the Council's website. Around these tables sit the committee members who will be taking decisions on the items. Officers of the Council are also in attendance, and I invite them to introduce themselves now, starting on my left.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jess Tamplin, Democratic Services Officer.
Good evening. I'm Clem Smith. I'm the Head of Economy and Planning.
Good evening, I'm Jean McPherson. I'm the Group Manager for Development Management.
Thank you. Item 1 is apologies for absence. Are there any apologies?
We've received no apologies.
There's no apologies, but Councillor Chariton's on his way. He's held up at roadworks.
Thank you. Item 2 is disclosures of interest, and item 3 is lobbying declaration, which I will pass on to Jess. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you. Due to the agenda items this evening, I'm thinking that it will be more time efficient to take the declaration a slightly different way. So I will ask for hands up for lobbying declarations, disclosures of interest and site visits. If you raise your hand, and then ask you further details of which agenda item you have a declaration related to. So I'll start with disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest, please? That's none. And any lobbying declarations, please? None. And have any councillors partaken in a site visit? Councillor Jaggard, can I ask which applications you visited the site for, please?
Yes, good evening. I visited site item 5, 6 and 7, Milton Mount Lake area. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That will be noted.
Thank you, that's great. We will now move on. Item 4 is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting held on 14th October 2025. Does the committee agree that the minutes are accurate record of a meeting? Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 5, Tree Preservation Order Works Application, CR/2025-0299/TPO, Milton Mount Open Space, land to the rear of 130 to 136 Grattons Drive. Please, can the planning officer introduce the report? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Item 5 is, as described, land to the rear of 130 to 136 Grattons Drive, and relates to an oak tree and an acer tree within the grounds of Milton Mount Park or Milton Mount Open Space. You'll note at 1.2 there were no responses received to the consultation period, and that remains the case. There haven't been any representations received. So there are two trees the subject of this application. The acer tree is on the left-hand side, and the oak to the right-hand side on that map. They're located either side of a footpath that links Grattons Drive into Milton Mount Park. The trees are large, and together with other trees, make an important contribution to the park. However, both trees, due to their age, are exhibiting signs of dieback in their crowns, and the application is for remedial work to those crowns. to sort of manage, if you like, their natural decline over a number of years. So this is the oak tree, and as you can see, the very tips of the branches are starting to die back. So the tree is naturally in decline. And the acer on the other side, it was a very tall tree, so we had to sort of take it as 2 photographs. Substantial specimen, but again very mature, and again showing signs of decline within its crown. So the works are to remove the dead branches, the dead outer branches, and to make the trees safe. So they have an estimated life expectancy of between 20 and 40 years. So it's to manage them in a safe state for that period. So the recommendation is for consent as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just come in to ask Councillor Chariton, who's just entered the room, whether he has any lobbying declarations, disclosures of interest, or has undertaken any site visits, please.
So firstly, an apology, Madam Chair, for being late. Unfortunately, Brighton Council have decided to close the road, so no interest to declare, no lobbying, and I haven't visited any of the sites. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just say the officer's presentation has just finished, but unfortunately, as you weren't here for the majority of that presentation, you won't be allowed to vote on this item. So we'll put you down as an abstention. The next item you will, of course, be able to vote on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude, for your presentation. There are no speakers for this item, so we'll move on to the debate. Committee members should raise their hand if they wish to speak. The officer will respond to queries one by one. Are there any questions, anyone? Thank you. We will now move on to the vote. The recommendation is to consent. As a chair, I will move the recommendation. May I ask the Vice Chair to second, please?
I second the recommendation.
Thank you. All those for? All those against? And all those abstaining? Thank you, everyone. So application CR/2025-0299/TPO has been granted consent. We will now move on to agenda item 6, tree preservation order works application CR25/0364/TPO Milton Mount Open Space, land adjacent to and the north of 16 High St. Hugh's Close. Please can the planning officer introduce the report, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is another application for tree works to a parkland tree north of St Hugh's Close. Again, you'll see the location of the tree, which is an ash tree, in the dark green circle on the map on the screen. Again, like this report, there's been no responses received to the site notice, and that consultation period has lapsed. This ash tree is a very large, mature tree, but it is in a declining state. So you'll see from the photographs that I've put on the slides here, it's developed a sort of twist in the trunk, and as you'll see from the condition of the trunk, it's quite decayed and again is in a state of natural decline. It is a prominent tree. You can see from the road and the St Hugh's Close sign, it is a big specimen, but as I say, it is in a poor condition, and say subject to ash dieback and just natural decline. You'll see from the officer report that there has been some testing done on this tree, and they've used a resistor graph just to check the condition of the trunk itself, and found that it's actually quite hollow. And the level of works is recommended to reduce the size of the crown, the remaining crown of the tree, so that it's a sort of safe shape and weight for the trunk. So it will reduce it quite considerably, but it needs to be if you like, the leaf mass needs to be reduced so that the trunk can withstand it. And obviously, this is a park tree, so it's carefully monitored as part of the inspections on a frequent basis. So the recommendation is to carry out the works to reduce the weight and loading on the tree, and the recommendations for consent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude, for your thorough presentation. Once again, there are no speakers for this item, so I will move on to the debate. Do any committee members wish to speak? Please raise your hands.
Thank you. It's just a question not really relating to this specific tree, but the last one and the next one as well. The title, the location title of this application is Milton Mount Open Space, yet the map that you showed up said Worth Park. So I'm just wanting to clarify the naming.
Yeah, thank you. I think it depends on whose mapping system you're using, to be honest. So on the planning register, it comes up as Milton Mount Open Space, which is why the three of them are all labelled the same. This is a map provided by the Park Services and their Easy Tree system, which might have it down as something slightly different. But it is Worth Park, and it's the open space. It's not just the parkland around the lake. The sort of more generic term that the planning officers are registering it by sort of covers the sort of amenity paths in and out of the park as well. So that's why we've gone for Milton Mount Open Space. So I think there's some debate as to what the actual title of the area actually is.
Yeah, thank you. It used, when I lived there, it used to be just called Milton Mount Park.
Okay, that's useful to know.
It was rebranded as Worth Park, and I just wanted to clarify to make sure that there was no technical legal or whatever issues.
No, I think it's just down to the slightly different map bases that are being used. Yeah.
Thank you. Would any other members like to ask a question or make a comment? Thank you. We will now move on to vote. The recommendation is to consent. As a chair, I will move the recommendation. May I ask the Vice Chair to second, please?
I second the recommendation.
Thank you. Please, may I have a show of hands for all those for? All those against? And all those abstaining? Thank you. Application CR/2025/0364 TPO has been granted consent. Now we will move on to agenda item 7, Tree Preservation Order Works Application CR/25/0389/TPO Milton Mount Open Space, land adjacent to 104 Grattons Drive. Please can the planning officer introduce the report?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The map on the screen shows the location of the two oak trees subject to this application. Again, made by the Amenity Services team for general maintenance reasons. As you'll see, they're quite prominent trees actually on the corner of on the curve of the road. And if you look at the photographs, you just about make the first tree out here, and then a larger one set further forward. Slightly better images here and here. And again, the consultation period has expired on the site notices and no responses were received. Again, these works are crown reduction, by reducing the height by a maximum of 1.5 metres. Again, it's a fairly minor trim to these trees, just for general maintenance reasons. I think the tree officer did inspect the trees, and again they've been one of them's had a resistor graft test for Ganoderma, but as I say, they're in reasonable condition, and this is just a general maintenance prune. In the interests of amenity and public safety. So recommendations for consent.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. There are no speakers for this item, so we will move on to debate. Do any committee members wish to speak? Actually, I'd like to make a comment. I mean, I think I know this area because I've been there so many times. Those trees are beautiful, really. Some of them are really protected as well. And they're really beautiful trees. And it'd be nice that once some work's done on them, and they will be healthy, and by next year, they should grow really more healthy and more beautiful as well. Thank you. We will now move on to the vote. The recommendation is to consent. As the chair, I will move the recommendation. May I ask the vice chair to second, please?
I second the recommendation.
Thank you. Please could I have a show of hands for all those for? All those against? And all those abstaining? Thank you, everyone. Application CR/2025/0389/TPO has been granted consent. We will now move on to item agenda 8, Tree Preservation Order Works Application CR/2025/0365/TPO, Amenity Land at Wakehams Green, land south of 16 and 17 Headley Close. Please may I ask the planning officer to introduce the report.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, another application for tree works. The location of the trees concerned is to the south of the houses in Headley Close. And again, the publicity's expired on this and no responses were received to the site notice. Again, the trees in this case are 2 wild cherry trees, but they form part of a much thicker row of trees that run along the back of these houses here. As you'll see from the aerial photograph, it's quite a thick screen, and the trees as individual specimens are not actually that prominent. This is 16 and 17 here, and these wild cherry trees are within this group here. The works are to trim back these branches that are extending towards the houses here to give more light to their gardens. As you'll see, the trees are to the south of these rear gardens. Unfortunately, because they're part of a thick screen, the actual cherries themselves are quite hard to pick out, and if you're standing sort of near on the path, you haven't got a very good view, but they've become quite extended and starved of sunlight, so they're sort of quite wiry specimens, and it's really just a trim up so that the branches are clear of the neighbouring gardens, and the recommendations to consent the works. Thank you.
Once again, thank you, Jean, for your excellent presentation. There are no speakers for this item, so we will move on to the debate. Do any committee members wish to speak? Please raise your hand. No? Okay, thank you. We will now move on to the vote. The recommendation is to consent. As the chair, I will move the recommendation. May I ask the vice chair to second, please?
I second the recommendation.
Thank you. Please, could I have a show of hands for all those for? All those against? And all those abstaining? Thank you. Application CR/2025/0365/TPO has been granted consent. So, supplementary agenda. There's no supplemental agenda, so there's no more. What is it? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'd like to carry on. Ahead of. All right. Okay. Then there's no more business for the committee. I would, however, like to ask the head of economy and planning to provide us with an update on water neutrality. So that's Clem. Thank you, Clem. Oh yeah, and the meeting closed at... No, not yet. It's still going.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to update Planning Committee that as of last Friday, the 31st of October, Natural England issued a formal statement which has in effect withdrawn water neutrality. from the Sussex North Water Supply Zone. You will recall that most of Crawley is subject to the Sussex North Water Supply Zone, and that's meant that most development in Crawley has a legal requirement needed to demonstrate water neutrality. Well, thanks to the formal withdrawal by Natural England of this position statement, this means that henceforth that will no longer be a material consideration or a legal requirement for development. This is obviously extremely good news to enable development to come forward. What it's going to do is unblock a significant number of planning applications, including a number of major planning applications that have been stuck in the system as a consequence of water neutrality. With that falling away, they are no longer blocked, and they are now unblocked. So the implications are that this committee and planning officers are going to be very busy in the coming 6 to 12 months. So you're likely to see much longer agendas with multiple major applications coming your way for consideration. That is going to start to take effect from the next committee on the 1st of December. So you're going to see a real uptick in business for the committee, which I think is good news and great news for Crawley, that development opportunities will be able to come forward.
Thank you, Claire. That is good news. And yes, Councillor Mullins, if you'd like to ask a question.
Thank you. I mean, it's great news for Crawley, definitely. But have we got the capacity in the planning department to deal with, hopefully, going to be a flood of applications?
Very good question, and we are in the process of bringing in some additional capacity. We're having some good conversations with colleagues in strategic planning, for example, and there is an opportunity for an officer from that team to move over temporarily to help add capacity, and we're also looking at opportunities to unlock third-party resources to help us boost capacity as well.
Thank you. Now we have Councillor McWarley. Please, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi, that is great news. However, my question is, what has changed?
A good question. What has changed is there has been an alternative way forward agreed between the water company, Southern Water, Natural England, Environment Agency, and DEFRA, the government department, in order to enable a restriction on abstraction of water from the Arun Valley areas that have been considered to be affected adversely by the abstraction of water from groundwater by Southern Water. So that alternative arrangement is a cap on the licence, which will be an amendment to the existing licence that Environment Agency have to enable Southern Water to abstract water. This amendment to cap the licence basically means that Southern Water will not be able to abstract beyond a certain amount of volume of water. They will not have the ability to do that, and they are agreeing to that cap, and that in itself allows there to be a restriction, therefore, and a management of the amount of water that can be abstracted. So it will no longer be the development process. It will be through the licence process that Environment Agency manage, who are the competent authority for that particular process. Okay. There's further details on the website.
That was an excellent question, Councillor McWarley. And so next we have Councillor Jaggard.
Thank you. I think Councillor McGuire has actually asked what I was going to ask about what has changed, but also the water neutrality was to do with biodiversity and the wetlands and that kind of thing. So I would like some more information on how that is going to be protected going forwards. And also, I would hope that new developments coming forward will have to show a really high efficiency level of the water that they use, maybe water capture, that kind of thing, so that we don't actually get into the same situation further down the line, because if a huge number of properties are suddenly built, they are going to be using a huge amount of water. And I want to make sure that they are built efficiency using high levels of, I can't think what it's called now, it's gone from my head, but the amount that they use, water that they use, so that we don't get ourselves in the same situation in 5-10 years' time.
Yeah, thank you. There's three things I want to say in response to that. One is we certainly can circulate to members the position, the withdrawal statement that Natural England have issued, and that's got further details on it to respond to your queries. Those details include not just the new licence cap arrangements that the Environment Agency will be overseeing, but also a series of ecological enhancement measures that have also agreed to be implemented in the Arun Valley area to enable the ecology to recover, as well as stopping the abstraction or capping the abstraction. Further details is in that withdrawal statement that you'll be able to see. In regard to your question around the water efficiencies, in the Crawley local plan, there is a specific provision that has foresees the withdrawal of the position statement, and that provision essentially means that the policy in the local plan reverts to the building regulations requirements for water efficiency, and that building regs requirement is 110 litres per person per day. So under the water neutrality water site efficiency requirement, you may be aware that it was 85 litres per person per day. It reverts to the 110 litres per person per day. Having said that, we're aware that the government is in the process of progressing the potential reduction in that efficiency to improve it even greater. So from 110 litres per person per day to 100 litres per person per day. And that, as I understand it, is going through legislative process at the moment and may become the revised regulations at 100 litres per person per day. And applicants are being notified and will be notified of the fact that those restrictions may become tighter through government processes.
Thank you. Next we have Councillor Chariton, please.
Yeah, just a quick thought. Thank you, Chair. Just a quick thought on all those developers and various people that have spent probably a fair amount of money implementing water neutrality requirements. What happens to them? Obviously the people have built stuff, nothing much you can do about it, but the stuff that's in progress, do they have a get off free card, or what happens? I just wondered.
Well, they've got their permission, which may include the need to introduce site water efficiencies and also offsetting measures, for example, from sites elsewhere to deliver water neutrality. At the moment, obviously, their permissions include that requirement. They do have the option potentially of coming back to the planning authority and seeking some amendments to their planning permission, which in effect would remove that requirement. So that would be another reason as to why the planning authority will be even more busy, because there may be other developers wanting to come back retrospectively and seek permission for those requirements to be removed.
Okay, so I mean, it's not a question of that now that the position has changed, they can go ahead and do something different. They have to come back.
They could if they wanted to invest, and some developers may wish to have development which has if high degree of water efficiency, rainwater harvesting, grey water recycling, for example, but they have that option of coming back to us to seek removal of the relevant parts of the permission that they previously secured.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so because what I was the behind the question was, with the change, does that mean developers can just go ahead and just ignore what they've agreed to? But your answer is fairly clear. No, they can't do that. If they want to come back and do something different, and they have to come back to the planning committee. That's simply what you're saying. Okay, thank you very much.
They have to come back to the planning authority.
Planning authority, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next is Councillor Adene. Thank you.
Hello. This change in this policy, the water neutrality, do you think it's going to be a temporary change, or are we likely to have a reversal back to, yeah? And then also now that you have you said that you have this long pile of application that needs to be attended to, and do you think that people will want to rush through to make sure that they get the application through before any possible reversal in this policy? Because over the years we've had a reversal in this hose pipe water ban, the use of the hose pipe daily on every year. They keep changing we keep having changes in this ban. Is it likely to be, from what you've seen, is it going to be a temporary reversal or probably a permanent change?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, my personal view is that the license scenario that's now been being put in place through the Environment Agency to cap the abstraction level gives, I would say, a solution which is probably commensurate with what's called the Water Resources Management Plan, which is what the water industry, Southern Water, are required to submit to DEFRA and to Environment Agency Natural England. It probably will be sufficient to run with the new Water Resources Management Plan over a 5-year period. But whether it's a temporary beyond that, your guess is as good as mine. It's difficult to say. I mean, a lot's going to depend on how many dry summers we have, the pressures on Southern Water in terms of abstraction and water supply. All of that may start to have an effect, but that's probably going to accumulate over a number of years. So I would say it's probably more of a long-term issue. But for now, I think this is the solution that's been agreed, and certainly for now, we should be fine to continue with processing applications for development.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cheriton, do you would like to ask another question?
I do have one more question, actually more relevant to us here, because if there's such a volume of work, have we enough of a schedule to complete all that work? Are we going to be required to come along even more, do you think? Because you were asked about capacity within your department, but what about the capacity amongst us?
That's also a very good question, and we have, as officers, we have been having precisely those conversations. Planning officers at the moment are looking at the list, which is very lengthy, it's fair to say. I don't think we can rule out the possibility of having to schedule in some additional planning committee meetings. When they might be, we're not yet sure about, but I think in the coming months, I don't think we can rule that out at all. Precisely because otherwise we might end up with agendas which are huge, and you don't want us to be here until, I don't know, beyond midnight.
Well, indeed, or
considering applications.
Or the bottleneck for planning applications being the planning committee, right? It's because we're waiting for the next committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Bidwell.
Thank you. And maybe this is worth putting to everyone, but I'm wondering whether, at the moment, we've pushed our meetings back to 7:30. I wonder if it might be worth considering aligning it with everyone, every other committee at 7 o'clock potentially. No.
I wouldn't be able to make 7 o'clock. Sorry.
If I can just jump in on that one. Thank you for raising that. This is obviously something that we've come to talk to a few times in the past as a committee, and 7:30 has been agreed as a time that's most convenient for the committee members. What has also happened previously is if there was a particularly large agenda or one with several major applications, we've started the committee at an earlier time on that specific occasion, either 7 o'clock or 6:30. I think having the committee at a standard set earlier time seems to be that it wouldn't work for some of you, but we can look to, on specific occasions, start the meetings earlier perhaps and kind of take that as an ad hoc thing. Any comments are welcome, of course.
I think that's fair. it may be difficult, I think, for people, particularly people in work, to come down from the city and stuff. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I think I guess it's something we'll have to look and see. If it becomes a regular thing, that might be problematical, but once in a period of time, I don't know, that's doable. I can do it, I'm just about, but I can't really speak for other people.
Yeah, so for me, the preference would be to start at the same time and finish later, if we had to, if it was a longer schedule.
I don't think there's any need for us to make any decisions today, and we can revisit this. I think if if it kind of becomes clear over time that there is a real pressing need, and as you say, the kind of the bottleneck of the getting through the applications is at committee stage, then it may be absolutely necessary for group leaders to look at changing membership of the committee, perhaps, so that we could allow for those sort of meetings to take place at an earlier stage. I'm not suggesting that that is necessarily needed, but I think if things get really kind of problematic, then maybe that's kind of our last case scenario.
Do any other members like to ask Clem any questions? No, thank you. Anyway, thank you everyone for your time and presence. So the meeting is now closed at 8:07. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Can I just ask committee members to hang around for a couple of minutes just for another sort of administrative discussion? Thank you.